Okay, sorry about that, guys. I didn't think you wanted to hear the announcements about the meetings this morning. Okay, so that's my explicit formula. Then to find the recursive formula, remember I go back to page 75 and the recursive formula, they're always pretty much the same. It's always going to be a sub n is equal to a sub n minus 1. The only difference between arithmetic and geometric is you're going to add or subtract your common difference with arithmetic, and you would multiply your common ratio with geometric. So basically, I'm looking for my common difference and my first term to write the recursive formula. So again, the beginning part's always the same. A sub n is equal to a sub n minus 1. And then I'm going to put in my common difference. My common difference was plus 12, right? So I would add 12. And then I do a little semicolon because this isn't technically part of the formula, but I need it if I wanted to use the formula for anything. So I need to find the first term, that's what a sub 1 means. And the first term is just the first term you see. Okay, that'd be the recursive formula. Then to find the 50th term, I always use the explicit formula, always. And all I do is I plug 50 in for the ends. If I plug 50 in for the ends, that would set up a sub 50, which means the 50th term, is equal to 12 times 50 minus 2. And then all you'd have to do is go 12 times 50, and then subtract 2, and you're going to get 598 for your 50th term. So a sub 50 here is going to equal 598. Okay, and that's all you're doing on the arithmetic side. You're finding the explicit formula, the recursive formula, and then using your explicit formula to find the 50th term. Okay, on the geometric side over here, so the geometric side, I have, let's do 12 here. So it tells me the instructions, find the explicit, the recursive, and the 8th term of the following geometric sequences. So remember the notes for the geometric sequences are not on page 75, they are on page 76. And what we know about geometric sequences is they use multiplication and division to find the next term. So my explicit formula would be a sub n is equal to the first term of my sequence times my common ratio. Ratio would be the number that is being multiplied or divided to get the next term. And that's all going to be raised to the n minus 1 power. So when we look at 12, I'm choosing this one because it's a division one, and that's what most of you have issues with. The multiplication is pretty simple. You just use whatever number you're multiplying for your r. But division, you have to kind of reformat a little bit. So when I look at 12, it goes from 4 to 1 to 1 over 4 to 1 over 16. So personally, I can see that that's dividing by 4, because 4 divided by 4 would be 1, right? 1 divided by 4 is 1 over 4. 1 divided by 4, 1 over 4 divided by 4 is 1 over 16. But if you're not sure what it's dividing by or what your common ratio is, you can figure that out on your calculator, right? You would just have to go take any number in your sequence, so 1, and divide it by the previous number, 4, and it's going to give you a decimal. And on my calculators, you can push the fraction to decimal button and get the fraction. This isn't one of my normal calculators though, but 0.25, if I were to push that button, it would give me 1 over 4. So what that does is it gives you the number that you multiplied by, go from 4 to 1. So I actually multiplied by 1 over 4. But that's the same thing as dividing by 4, right? Because if I were to multiply 4 by 1 over 4, remember it's 4 over 1. When I multiply fractions, they just multiply straight across. 4 times 1 is 4, so you're going to end up with 4 over 4, which 4 divided by 4 is 1. Okay? So that's how the multiplying by the fraction works as a division. And anytime you're setting these up, if you're not sure how, like dividing by 3 would be a fraction, all you do is you just put it under 1. If you're dividing by 3, it would be 1 under 3, or 1 over 3, I mean. If you're dividing by 7, it'd be 1 over 7. If you're dividing by 2, it'd be 1 over 2. It's just going to be 1 over whatever number you're dividing by. Okay, and then again, to do the explicit, it was a sub n is equal to the first term times your common ratio to the n minus 1 power. So the first term was 4 here, right? A sub n is equal to 4. And then I'm going to multiply that by my common ratio, which was this, right? 1 over 4. I want the number that I multiply by. So if I'm dividing, I'm going to want to express that as a fraction. So it'll be 1 over 4. Or if you wanted to put that as a decimal, that'd be fine. That'd be 0.25, right? And that's raised to the n minus 1 power. Okay, and then the recursive. Again, the only difference between the recursive arithmetic and geometric is instead of adding your common difference, you're going to multiply your common ratio. So the beginning part's the same, a sub n is equal to a sub n minus 1. But I'm going to multiply this by my common ratio, which is 1 over 4. And that's the first part of the formula, but again, I'm not done. I have to identify my first term. A sub 1 is equal to 4. And there's my recursive formula. And then to find the 8th term, you do the same thing that you did with arithmetic. You're going to use the explicit formula, and you're going to replace the n with the whichever term it wants. So this one wants the 8th term. So a sub n, or a sub 8, would equal 4 times 1 over 4 to the 8 minus 1 power. So that's like saying 4 times 1 over 4 to the 7th power. And then on your calculator, you could go 1 over 4 using the fraction buttons, or you could have that as the decimal, 0.25. And you would raise that to the 7th power. And they give you a long decimal, and then you multiply that by your first term, which gives you a long decimal as well, which when you convert, it would be 0.00024. I think there's 4 zeros. You're going to get a long decimal on this one, which is fine because it's going to be a really small fraction. So the 8th term would be 0.000 2, 4, etc. Okay, and then the last two problems, they give you a first term on both of them. And you just have to find the next 4 terms.